Greetings and hello, my beautiful black diamonds of the earth, all the black people of the world. Today is Sunday, September 23rd, 2018. This video is about a wealthy teen who was cleared in a South Los Angeles killing. Critics say his race and privilege helped him get away with murder. That's right. Let's take a look into the story. So, family, the case was unique from the start. A white, blue-eyed teenager from the affluent Los Angeles suburb of Palos Verdes Estates was arrested in October on suspicion of murder in a gang killing in South Los Angeles. About a week later, Cameron Terrell posted a $5 million bail, grabbing the headlines. He was in the spotlight again in July after a jury found Terrell, the driver, in the shooting. That's right, this white male is the driver. He was the driver in the shooting. They found him not guilty of murder and 2 counts of attempted murder in the death of 21-year-old Justin Holmes. Cameron Terrell, 18 years old, admitted he was the driver. The black Mercedes-Benz registered to his father was caught on surveillance video. The central question posed to the jurors during the 2-week trial was what Terrell knew and when. Quote, Cameron didn't expect to hear gunshots, unquote, his attorney, Jovan Blacknell, told the jury. He didn't expect any of this to happen. So, family, I pulled this information up on attorney Jovan Blacknell. This is an attorney profile. He is a criminal defense attorney. And again, his name is Jovan Blacknell. Now, the reason why I wanted to sidetrack for a minute is because I wanted to talk about brothers, so-called brothers like this. It's these type of brothers who I have a concern with, where they go to college, they get these fancy degrees, and we're still stuck in the system of white supremacy. We don't have an agenda, we don't have a plan, and none of these so-called intelligent or intellectual black men have put together any type of organized meeting of concern that just involve black men. I'm not talking about your law conventions you go to that are orchestrated and led by white men. I'm talking about meetings that are led by black attorneys doing the work where Johnny Cochran left off. I'm talking about brothers and sisters like that who are across America going to these colleges, getting these so-called fancy degrees, and you're not using any of your knowledge or experience to get black people on the right track. You're just throwing your hands up in the air, and then you're going to defend those who don't deserve it. Oh, and you say, oh, but they deserve to be defended too. Sure they do, especially when you know that they're getting away with murder, right? Wink, wink. As long as that paycheck pays for that Jag or that Mercedes, right? But we're going to go back to the story. I just wanted to sidetrack on so-called brothers like this Jovan Blacknell. And I wish other brothers and sisters who are in law would get it together, meet, and come up with a plan of how we can stop these white supremacists from doing what they're doing with the law. There's an idea. Get together, figure out some obstacles, what you can come up with to stop them from coming up with these different plans of how to oppress us further. Maybe you can work on that kind of thing. Like I said, pick up the mantle where Johnny Cochran left off from. But I digress, so I'll go back to the story. So, after the verdict was read, Deputy District Attorney Tricia Taylor sat still at the attorney's table in the courtroom and looked straight ahead. The family of the victim shook their heads as they walked out of the room, shepherded by a deputy. You know how they do when there's a miscarriage of justice, and black people have to see once again how this evil, cruel, evil so-called justice system fails black Americans. We've seen this one too many times, and it's so outrageous. It can't be called law. It can't be called justice. Those words don't even fit in the same paragraph when we're describing what these white people are doing. It can't be called those words. So, some saw the acquittal as yet another example of a criminal justice system that hands out unequal punishment based on race, ethnicity, and wealth. Well, on social media, comparisons were made to Brock Turner, the Stanford University freshman pictured here, who was sentenced to 6 months in jail for 3 counts of sexual assault. Now, I want to pause for a second and let my white viewers understand when we talk about white privilege, this is an example of what we're talking about. It's when white males who commit rape and sexual assaults on women and men oftentimes, how you get a slap on the wrist. And in this case, Brock Turner, this sexual deviant, he got sentenced by a white male so-called judge. He got sentenced to 6 months in jail, in which he only had to do 3 months. And then he was back out onto the streets. This is what white male privilege looks like. This is what white males in a so-called justice system looks like, and why you guys are on the streets and black men are being incarcerated at your expense. Talk about taking responsibility and accountability for your actions. But I digress. It says that on social media, comparisons were made to Brock Turner, the Stanford University freshman who was sentenced to 6 months in jail for 3 counts of sexual assault, a sentence many found too lenient. People tweeted that Terrell got away with murder, while many other black men and youth are in prison for the same crime. So family, I just want you to know something before I continue with this story, that the rest of these pictures that I start to show is these are of Cameron Terrell, the white male who is pictured here, him and his gang activities. I want you to see the side that the white media, they are not portraying, they are not showing regarding this white male. This is why white males like him get away with murder in a so-called criminal justice system that is only bent on putting black men and women behind bars. That's all. But I want you to see the activity of this white male and his gang affiliation clearly that's been posted on social media for me to be able to show to you on what the court system had access to also, and they let this man get away with murder. He was the driver of the shooter in this killing. You know as well as I do, in other situations where black males were in the driver's position, they were also charged with murder, just like every other black male that's been a driver as well. So this white male is getting away with murder, and it's because his family has money. That's A, number one. And then B, because he is white, despite what his black lawyers are saying. I want you white people to understand that just because his black lawyers are saying that no, it has nothing to do with race, we don't listen to people like them. We don't listen to those type of turncoats, if you will, those type of traitors, if you will. I don't know what to call them. I don't want to call them a coon because people get butthurt when you call other black people coons when they act in that manner. But I'm trying to use other words to describe their behavior when they try to white-splain for you. They try to white-splain and excuse your behavior. And they try to excuse racism. Why it's okay that you, Cameron Terrell, don't have to go to jail or prison. They try to white-splain it for you. Instead, they should allow you to take the mic and you explain it to people and to this man's family why it is that you should be back on the streets. You should be the one to have to explain it, not these black so-called lawyers. They sure aren't doing anything for the black community, that's for sure. They sure know how to speak up for you guys, though, don't they? But I'm going to get back to this story. But my point is, I'm going to start showing these different visuals of Cameron Terrell, this white male here, the driver who was admitted in this case to being the driver. I'm going to start showing you pictures of his activities so you see what the white media is not showing you. Well, others dismissed those suggestions, asserting that prosecutors overreached and focused too much on establishing Terrell's gang membership without proving he committed the crime. Well, let me pause on that part also. You know, a problem with this so-called justice system is the judges, and these white judges, they know exactly what they're doing, people. What they do is they put all these different stipulations on each different case. That's why they always say, oh, you got to go with the different circumstances. They never have a set goal or a set rule of how to rule law. It's always based on their own little innuendos and what they want you to prove and what you can say and what you can show. It's all full of garbage, full of cow manure, full of feces. Nonetheless, Blacknell argued the latter, but acknowledged the subtle racial dynamics at play. So again, and let me go back to this so-called lawyer. Blacknell here, Jovan Blacknell, he looks like one of those butter biscuit eaters. Like he's just skating on some skates, waiting to go tell massa what's getting ready to happen. This guy right here, I don't like him. No, I won't say that because I don't know him. But this guy, I'm just tired of black men like him. I really am. I'm so sick of black men like him, where they go white-splaining for white people. They always have to get up there running their mouths like they have to speak for racists. It's ridiculous. But anyways, it says, quote, he wasn't set free because he was white, said the attorney, who is black. See, they had to make that known as if we couldn't see that. I mean, just dumb. I'm gonna repeat this, but just this is the stupidity though of the white media and how they communicate. They had to point out that his lawyer is black because we can't see that. But I'm gonna read it again. It says, quote, he wasn't set free because he was white, said the attorney, who was black. But I do think that the jurors gave him the benefit of the doubt. I don't think all minorities get that. Well, number one, we're not talking about all minorities. We're talking about black men. That's our verbiage from now on. We're not talking about minorities. We're done with those terms. People of color. No, Kevin Hart, we're not going to say people of color like you had to say on The Breakfast Club. You must have said people of color about 50 times. You made me throw up. But no, this isn't that show either. No. We're not going to say that. We're going to say black men. Okay? So, you don't think that jurors give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't think black men get that. You're right. Black men don't get that. Jody Armour, a law professor at USC, said studies have shown that black people are viewed more unsparingly than whites for the same crime. Armour said that a white wrongdoer is often thought to be influenced by extenuating circumstances rather than being a bad person. So, in other words, little Cameron Terrell was influenced to be bad. Otherwise, he's a good kid. He's a good little kid. Meanwhile, Jeffrey Dahmer's out killing people, eating them, and storing them in his refrigerator because you guys believe that, well, little old Johnny is a good little boy. You guys are so delusional. But anyways, let me go back to the story. It says, another advantage was that Terrell's family was able to post a $5 million bond, which required $500,000 in cash. During the trial, Terrell was able to go home each night. During breaks, dressed in a Navy suit, he would sometimes walk in Grand Park and meet his lawyers at the nearby law library. Jurors could see him in the halls waiting to enter the courtroom or the cafeteria. And as you can see here, he's pictured in one of those suits. And what's so shameful about this, a man who is a driver in a murder charge, how he's able to just walk freely with the jurors who are passing judgment on this thug. And they dressed him up like a monkey in a suit so he could represent himself like a good little white boy. And I say that because this is how our system operates. I can't say it in a nice way. I can't sugarcoat the BS that your so-called justice system is putting out on people. I can't sugarcoat that. So it says, quote, "It's such a tremendous benefit to be out of custody," Blacknell said. He's not just who they're talking about in a vacuum in a courtroom. He's also this guy, this kid who we see walking around just like a regular person. Well, no kidding. That's what money buys you. Affluency. And you know what? When it's involving a murder charge, our laws need to be changed that no one should escape justice. No one should escape it, even when you have money. But you know what? With this system and why it's so foul is because it isn't based on money so much. It's based on race. Because we saw that with Bill Cosby and so many other black males who you guys have carted into your so-called justice system and you've ripped them off. You have embezzled the money from. You have ran a kangaroo circus system and you say it's one of the best in the world. How sad, pathetic, and uncivilized that is. It has nothing to do with real democracy. You guys did not learn your lessons well from the ancient black civilizations and nations that once existed. You have not learned those lessons at all. Before I continue, I want you to see how pathetic this picture looks. I want you to just look at this picture because a picture often says or speaks 1,000 words. It's very telling. But anyways, it says Terrell also had the privilege of hiring a private defense attorney rather than being assigned a public defender, said Richard Kania, a criminal justice professor at Jacksonville State University. His youthful, clean-cut appearance also helped. So basically what they're saying is that when you're a black man and you have braids or dreads or just your regular natural hair black man, you don't fit the description to get any privilege from this so-called justice system. Sad and pathetic. He continues on saying, quote, "He just doesn't fit the image of a gangbanger," Kania said. Prosecutors alleged that Cameron Terrell was a member of the Rollin' 90s neighborhood Crips. On October 1st, they said Cameron Terrell and two other gang members drove to the 7800 block of Southwestern Avenue to target rivals. The two teenagers with Terrell got out of the car, walked up to Justin Holmes and two others and asked about their gang affiliation, prosecutors said. The others ran, but Holmes said he wasn't from a gang. One of the juveniles shot Holmes, then ran to Terrell's waiting car. So you see, if it wasn't for this white boy here on the left, Cameron Terrell, sitting in that waiting car, being an accomplice to murder, because that's exactly what he was. And because we have a racist so-called justice system, you have lawyers or judges who will taint a court case because they will word it in such a juvenile, unrealistic terminology, and the law will skate around it. They have lawyers who are sharks who will skate around things of this nature. And this is why black people don't get justice, because we are more righteous people than they are. So we look at what's obvious and they don't, because they're always looking at ways of how to skate around doing the right thing. But yet they'll tell you about being accountable and responsible. But yet we see examples from them just like this. Quote, "They didn't see this coming," Taylor, one of the trial prosecutors, said of the victims. Holmes and his friends were not gang members. She said, Holmes worked for U-Haul and was enjoying a weekend off work. His family declined to comment for this story. So, let's get this straight. The young man on the right, by the name of Holmes, he wasn't even part of a gang. He worked for U-Haul. So he wasn't even affiliated. And this white boy, Cameron Terrell, on the left, being the driver of some gang activity, he gets off from murder. Being an accomplice, he was the driver. Just like as if you were robbing a bank, you were the driver. You're going down too with the rest of them. But because of whiteness and his privilege of having money, he is getting away with murdering a man who worked at U-Haul, was not even a gang member. This white boy is getting away with the murder of this black man. Talk about an Amber Geiger. Talk about another Amber Geiger, where you are just getting away with murdering an innocent black man. And no, you didn't pull the trigger, but you might as well had. You had your hand on the steering wheels. You admitted to it in the court of law, and you cannot change that fact. You are an accomplice to that, and you got acquitted. This is a shame. This is a miscarriage of justice. This is another example of a miscarriage of justice. This is what it looks like. This is what white privilege looks like. This is where the justice, so-called justice system, breaks down all the way. It's so broken, it needs an overhaul. So family, I talked about this lawyer, and I'm going to have to talk about him again because, again, I can't stand so-called brothers like this. So during the trial, Jovan Blacknell told the jury that Cameron Terrell is an only child whose parents were having issues at home when the teenager began hanging out at the gang stomping ground, Jesse Owens Park in South Los Angeles. So the lawyer is admitting that he is in fact a gang member, and yes, because he comes from a single mother home. I'm assuming that's what he's living in. And the lawyer could even have the decency to say that because, well, we're talking about a white boy here, so we're not going to use those terms. We only reserve those terms for black women. This system is so screwed up. You know what? I'm going to end this off here because I'm really getting sick of just even reporting this. I'll just leave a link in the description. You can read it yourself. The rest of it is just so disgusting, this case. It just reminds me of all the other ones. But black people, this is what I have to say to you. And I'm going to end it off here. So what are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about all these cases across America where these white people are getting away with murdering and killing black people? What are we going to do about it as a community and as a nation within the nation? What are we as black people going to do about these killings and the lack of accountability? What are we going to do? What we've been doing has not been working. What are we going to do? When does the organizing begin? This is Black Talk Radio. Thanks a lot for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.